Welcome to another edition of Indie Talk here at the Dakota, and I'm Jonathan Starr. We're continuing this series of many podcasts as we dive a little bit deeper into the Dunseith debacle. Of course, something that's been going on in North Dakota for a while now. Again, joined by Charles Hoefer on this. Finally get to tell some information about new evidence that was found.
Yeah, this is just I think we're gonna assume that you watched the episode before, and then we can just dive right in. Does that work for you?
If you haven't watched the episode before, there was one.
Maybe you should go watch the episode before.
They'll establish some groundbreaking news that you need in order to understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
Also,
because we're not going to cover that. We're going to move forward, right?
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
If you do want to know, and before we move on, this will be the last bit on it. If you want to know more, go to mydakotan.com, click on Dunseith Debacle, and there's a bunch of articles. There's a bunch of links to podcasts and things like that that you can watch to see more of the full story. Mm-hmm. This is something that has been covered by, it's started to gain a little bit of
it's been
momentum.
Traction. No one's really questioning it anymore. I mean, even Court Watch, which is a national legal blog that a lot of the national media pick up, they did a headline that they titled "Classified Docs in North Dakota" when the suit was filed a few weeks back.
Which incredible. And now there's documents that are gained from the state that shows, hey, there's some stuff that did happen.
Yeah, there might have been something going on behind the scenes.
Potentially.
Just a little bit.
Part of that, and this was something that was gained from the state, that is all redacted on the state side.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, for on a doc request. But
if it was incriminating, or if it was, something they didn't want anyone to see because it made them look absolutely, as I allege in the lawsuit, then they made sure it was in black.
It's gone. Mm-hmm. But you were still able to obtain this email, and this is a really interesting one where the North Dakota Deputy AG, Claire Ness, goes and actually has an email conversation with Senator Bob Paulson.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Can I tell you how I got this?
Yeah. How'd you get it?
So in that Michael Standard email dump that we talked about from the state, he had these 911 pages of Attorney General emails. Yep. And what's very clear in those emails is that there's one email that they don't want you to see what it is. It's mentioned in there, but it's missing.
Right.
And so I requested it from Senator Paulson. He sent it last week to another senator who gave it to me. And to be honest with you, it was another one of those things where it left me in shock.
Yeah.
It was hard to accept.
Not exciting at all. So kind of the premise around it is that there was a meeting that was supposed to happen down in Bismarck where there's going to be 3 legislators and Mr. Hoefer.
I was finally going to get some relief with legislators. I mean, so I had just found the commerce records. Mm-hmm. I start to find out that this, I'm a federal aviation whistleblower. Yeah. The Foundation for Aviation Safety is working with me now, which is top whistleblowers around the world who talk about things that need to be addressed in flight safety. And I suddenly find these records that shows that some state officials in North Dakota were involved in that.
Right.
And I start sensing that very strongly that I've been being harmed for a long time in the site cleanup to deal with the federal authorities, that the state people were not only dishonest, but were causing me extreme harm and risk. And then I start to learn that, things are just not right under the surface here. And then the state folks that I was working with in my business cut off all communication with me, and things got weird. So the legislators had agreed to step in, get me that meeting with the Attorney General that I'd been hoping for and being promised by the commerce officials of Governor Burgum for a year. And so they set it up. And it was Senator Bob Paulson, Senator Keith Boehm, and Senator Ken Weston.
I see.
And we were excited. I mean, we were going to go down and finally get some answers. And finally, I would get to present to Attorney General Drew Wrigley, here's what's going on.
And truth is, you did go down.
How did that meeting go?
Halfway down. Yeah.
It got canceled halfway down.
Halfway down, it got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a bad day for you.
And Susie Weigel, Drew's executive assistant, called and suggested to Bob Paulson that I might be a lunatic. Now, as we mentioned before, behind the scenes, they already had a war room being set up to deal with me, and Weigel was involved in some of those communications.
And that's the interesting part, is that it appears that there's two different conversations that are going on. One is the front-facing conversation, and one is how seriously they were taking the situation behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So there's this email. We're going to go ahead and put it on screen that kind of sheds light on...
Can I preface what Senator Paulson said first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So he basically just said to the Chief Deputy Attorney General, Claire Ness of North Dakota, Claire, there are lots of red flags going off for me on the resistance to meet and talk with Charles. And then he goes on to say, are you aware of the accusation that Commerce has emails on this topic that have been deleted? Who deletes official state emails? If Charles is not credible, it should be pretty easy to produce them and say, nope, you're full of it. Here they are right here.
Right.
They did bring me an empty database, but they were concealing that they actually had the real records. So did Commerce encourage Charles to sue the previous owner, as he says? Did they ask him not to go to the media, as he says? Why am I the one asking these questions? Basically implying, Attorney General, these are serious allegations. There might be criminal wrongdoing here. Do your job.
Yeah.
And so he said it's pretty frustrating to have a meeting scheduled, then canceled. And he says, my experience has been people who are not telling the truth don't want to go to meetings like that.
Yikes. Well, you were halfway there. So let's go ahead and see the response by Claire Ness.
So go ahead. You or me. I can read it if I got it in front of me, so I can probably see it a little better here. So Claire Ness to Senator Paulson. This morning, Susie was asked by a legislator to set up a meeting for 3 legislators and a member of the public, and she correctly did so. So it is correct to set up a meeting for a member of the public and 3 legislators, unless
we find out why this did not happen next.
Afterward, however, our office pieced together that the meeting was for Mr. Hoefer. Okay. So we get the call when I'm halfway down to Bismarck. Now, did Senator Boehm or Senator Paulson or Senator Weston tell them that I was the member of the public?
Right.
No, they did not. Did I tell anybody that I was going to this meeting? No. So if I were to guess, somebody was pinging my phone or pinging my car and finding out that I had made a movement halfway to Bismarck.
Interesting.
And so the meeting was for Mr. Hoefer, who has had significant contacts with state agencies in our office. I mean, significant contacts implies that we work together. I was reporting threats.
Okay.
I was reporting criminal misbehavior by officials, by a BCI agent. Right. I wasn't having, this significant relationship of contacts. I was reporting crime, and they were building up a war room expecting that at some point in the future, I'm going to sue.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot to unpack with his many allegations, some of which include statements to our office that a BCI agent is colluding with the Air Force to do something with secrets.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I haven't alleged that myself.
Right. I mean, that was on them.
Maybe they just drew the conclusions. I don't know. What do you think?
It's definitely weird. Obviously, there's been mention of nuclear stuff at the site, but not going that far.
Mention of apparent nuclear records. But the reality is I have reported on the contamination of a global commercial aviation supply chain.
Right.
The spoilage of one of the world's most sensitive flight sensors.
Right. Used
in all kinds of stuff, but almost exclusive to Boeing and used extensively in Airbus, and probably relating to mid-air accidents and clear air turbulence.
Right.
And some crashes. And that view is shared by aviation experts.
Exactly.
I mean, Ed Pearson and Joe Jacobson, 2 top experts for the U.S. Congress, have written an open letter to the NTSB sharing that view.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the view. So then she says, we will review the materials you've forwarded and can best follow up when we know more about what the actual allegations against the Commerce Department are. They already... a month before that basically said we're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
They knew.
Yeah.
And they were concealing from a legislator what they knew.
Right.
I learned today that he apparently sent Commerce a 100-page document So we'll want to get info about that too.
What 100-page document did you send them?
The lawsuit that they helped me prepare, just as an update to what the amended complaint against Benchmark was, which did not name or include the state in any way.
Right. And that was something that Commerce directed you to.
Yeah, they had us working. They were working the suit with us, and there's even an email Michael Standard had that confirms that.
Wow.
Which he didn't report.
Yeah.
So then she goes on to say, you noticed his law enforcement agencies and Air Force apparently didn't find him credible, at least if I understand correctly. However, there's no evidence that Senator Paulson ever said that. I never reported that. And you guys have uploaded a recording of a BCI agent confirming that the Air Force wanted to lock down my site.
Right.
You have records uploaded that show that my site was declared a federal crime scene after suffering from a pretty intense cover-up and retaliation involving North Dakota agents, and that the Office of the Inspector General, the Department of Defense, confirmed they were looking into flight and missile safety in the military based on what they found at our site.
Yeah.
So that's all true.
Right.
And yet the news on that hasn't come out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So then here's what Chief Deputy AG Claire Ness says. So if there were a national security cover-up, it would have to include law enforcement agencies, the military, and multiple state agencies. That doesn't seem plausible. So on one hand, here you have number 2 law enforcement for North Dakota saying we're just getting into this. And on the other hand, just throw it out, Senator Paulson. And we don't need to meet with the guy either.
Right.
Because, we got to figure this out, but we already don't believe it.
Right.
It's not plausible.
Right.
And what was one of the things that they had in one of the highlights of the report that they were looking at from me, separate from the lawsuit? Because they had a report of outstanding law enforcement and safety and criminal misconduct issues against us.
Okay, what was it?
Agent Brejo was a threat to me.
Okay. That was something that you had filed.
Agent Daniel Brejo had worked on a cover-up with Air Force, with BCI.
Right.
And they knew they had internally public records from Agent Brejo copying BCI and Air Force, trying to get me to destroy the evidence at my site that the DOD Office of the Inspector General eventually collected.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
At a minimum, and this, you can take this however you want.
Yep.
North Dakota, I take this as an implied threat or a passive threat, especially when the Attorney General controls the Bank of North Dakota as well. Yep. At a minimum, I hope you know us well enough. And she's talking to Senator Paulson. I hope you know us well enough to know that that's not how we operate in our office.
Right.
If I'm receiving that email on a very sensitive topic, and clearly she's discussing very sensitive topics in here, I'm going to be pretty uncomfortable with
Thinking about backing off a little bit.
Yeah. So there's
that.
And it's just an ending there. And then the very next day, she's telling her team they need to get together and figure this out.
Right. And so she goes forward. She says, please see the attached documents from Senator Paulson regarding Mr. Charles Hoefer and my response to Senator Paulson. We should discuss how to proceed with these tomorrow. I'm tied up most of today. But what we found out in the open records was that they already had these documents.
They had all these meetings going. They had the director of general counsels. They had the head civil litigator. They had, chief deputy attorney general, executive assistant for Wrigley. Mm-hmm. All these different people in on these meetings trying to figure out what to do. None of them asking me any questions or meeting with me. And then, honestly, you know what happened 11 and a half weeks later.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Agent Brejo is arrested and charged with murder.
Yep.
And so, it's just all a big hot mess. And during that time period, I suffered some of the most terrifying and intense public and private retaliations that I've ever faced or could have dreamed of facing either in my life or during this entire ordeal. And I really think that they were trying to throw me against a wall through the lawsuit defendants. And based on the records I'm seeing and how many there are, I think the lawsuit defendants may have had some complicit help.
Right. We're at 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We're going to come to a close. But basically what you see here is you see a state legislator trying to get a meeting with with the AG's office with a citizen gets canceled because they didn't want to meet with Mr. Hoefer. That's outlined in the email. And
they certainly didn't want to address my concerns with the legislators.
Yeah. And then they go and they try to, it appears...
That same day is when I get put under attack by the Commerce defendants. The individual defendants from the Commerce Department to my suit start attacking my company financially that same day that she emailed Paulson that the meeting was canceled.
And then it appears in that email that that the legislators trying to be led down a road away from the story that he was trying to look into.
Away from asking questions. Mm-hmm.
So interesting stuff there. This is our Dunseith Debacle. It's the little mini podcasts that we're doing, the short form podcast that we're doing on this series of kind of covering some of the stuff that has come out in this new evidence drop. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Dakota so you can get the next one that's going to come out. It'll be coming out soon. So be subscribed and stay tuned for future updates. Thanks for watching this episode and have a great rest of your day.